The glossy lights of fame often blind us to the quiet tremors happening behind closed doors. Celebrities smile for cameras, their laughter echoing across red carpets, while their true emotions remain buried in shadows. Yet sometimes those shadows slip out, whispering secrets too raw to stay hidden. This is the story of Soo Kai's hidden tears, the truth behind a locked hotel door, and the love that fans never thought would find its way into reality. It was supposed to be a normal evening, another award ceremony where Soo Kai shone in his tailored suit, flashing that effortless smile that had made millions fall for him. He laughed, posed, and even teased reporters with his trademark charm. But behind the glimmer, sharp-eyed fans noticed something off. His eyes, though bright, carried a flicker of weariness. His smile seemed just a little too heavy. After the event, instead of joining the after-party with fellow actors, Soo Kai slipped away quietly, vanishing into the night. The hotel elevator doors closed on him, and that was where the facade cracked. Behind the locked door of his suite, the truth unraveled. Soo Kai, the man who had carried himself like a pillar of strength for years, broke down in silence. Alone he wept, not out of weakness but out of overwhelming relief. For that night was not just an ordinary night. It was the night everything changed. For months, whispers had circled the entertainment industry. Soo Kai had been linked romantically to a co-star, but unlike fleeting on-screen rumors, this one carried unusual weight. There were secret sightings, a hand held too long after filming wrapped, stolen glances that cameras accidentally captured, and late-night drives where the two vanished from sight. What made fans restless was not just the secrecy, it was the intensity. The chemistry between them wasn't the usual scripted romance. It was raw, electric, and undeniable. The woman in question had kept her silence, never confirming nor denying. Soo Kai, too, had dodged the questions gracefully. But what no one knew was that, away from the cameras, they were fighting for something far bigger than just a love story. They were fighting for future. That night, when Soo Kai closed the door of his hotel room, he wasn't alone. Inside, waiting for him, was the woman he had shielded from the public eye for so long. She had been there all along, the quiet anchor in the storm of his fame. The tears that Soo Kai shed weren't born from sadness, but from the magnitude of the secret they had kept buried. In that room, amidst the soft hum of the city outside, they made a choice, one that would forever alter their destinies. They were no longer just lovers. They were bound by a deeper truth. They were married. Yes, the rumor that many dismissed as fantasy was real. Soo Kai and his beloved had tied the knot away from flashing cameras, in a private ceremony attended only by family and the closest of friends. It wasn't about grandeur, nor was it about media headlines. It was about them, two souls who had fought tirelessly to protect what was sacred. Their marriage had been kept hidden not out of shame, but out of a desire to preserve something pure from the consuming flames of fame. And that night, behind the locked hotel door, Soo Kai's tears flowed because the weight of secrecy had finally lifted. He no longer had to live with the burden of pretending. He could finally breathe as a husband, not just as an actor. What makes their story so mind-blowing isn't just the revelation of a secret marriage. It is the resilience of their bond. Fame had thrown challenges at them. Prying eyes, endless speculation, schedules that tore them apart for months. Yet their love didn't fracture. Grew. Fans who once thought they were just witnessing a fleeting romance now realize they were witnessing history. Every smile they shared on screen wasn't just acting. Every lingering touch carried truth. Every glance was a confession hidden in plain sight. Perhaps the most unforgettable scene came months before the revelation. During a press event, Soo Kai was asked a simple question about love. Instead of his usual witty dodge, he paused. For a brief second, his eyes softened and he whispered, "Sometimes the greatest love is the one you protect quietly." At the time, no one understood. Now, those words ring with a deeper resonance. He wasn't speaking hypothetically. He was speaking about her. About them. About a love sealed in secrecy, yet strong enough to survive the world. When news of the hidden marriage broke, Fans were left in shock. Social media exploded. Some cried in disbelief. Others celebrated with uncontained joy. Videos of Soo Kai and his partner went viral, dissected frame by frame as fans searched for clues they had missed all along. But more than the shock was the overwhelming sense of pride. Fans realized they had been part of a story far grander than a simple romance. They had been witnesses to a tale of courage, loyalty, and the kind of love that defies all odds. Now, Soo Kai stands not just as an actor adored across Asia, but as a man who dared to love unapologetically. The hotel door that once hid his tears now symbolizes something greater, the door to a future where love no longer hides in the shadows. Behind that locked door was the truth. He was no longer alone, and he never would be again. Soo Kai's hidden tears were not tears of sorrow. They were the tears of a man who had carried a secret so heavy it nearly consumed him, only to finally release it into the arms of the one he loved most. Behind the hotel door, a chapter closed and another began. A chapter not written by tabloids, but by two hearts intertwined. The revelation of his marriage is not just a twist in a celebrity's life. It is a reminder that love, in its purest form, doesn't need an audience. It only needs two people brave enough to hold on, no matter the cost. The first revelation shook the world. Soo Kai's hidden marriage, the locked hotel door that carried 1,000 untold truths, and the quiet tears that revealed the weight of love he had carried in silence. But what happened after? What really unfolded behind that moment when the secret was no longer just theirs to hold? This is where the story deepens, where their whispers, their promises, and their courage create scenes that fans could only dream of, but which now shine as reality. Inside that dimly lit hotel room, the air was thick with unspoken words. Soo Kai stood frozen for a moment, his eyes glistening, his shoulders trembling. He had spent years hiding his true emotions, but now the walls were gone. She stepped closer, her hands reaching up to gently cup his face. "You've carried it long enough," she whispered, her voice steady despite the storm in her own chest. "You don't have to hide anymore." For the first time, Soo Kai didn't fight the tears. He let them fall freely, sinking into her embrace. That silent hug spoke louder than any vow, a promise that no matter how fierce the world outside became, they had each other to lean on. It wasn't just romance. It was survival. Later that night, as the city lights bled softly through the curtains, they sat across from each other, hands entwined, speaking truths they had never dared to voice aloud. "I used to dream of announcing it to the world," she said softly. "But then I realized, the world doesn't need to know us to make us real." Soo Kai smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Do you know why I cried tonight? Not because I was scared, not because I was ashamed, but because for the first time I realized, I don't care anymore. I don't care what they say, what they write. All I care about is this. You, me, and the life we've built in the shadows." The weight of those words lingered. For years, he had dodged rumors, smiled at intrusive questions, and masked his love in plain sight. Tonight, though, the masks were gone. As they spoke, memories of their secret wedding came flooding back, a scene so pure and intimate that it seemed straight out of a movie. It was a simple ceremony, hidden away from the eyes of the world. A quiet countryside chapel, only family and a handful of friends present. No flashing cameras, no red carpets. Just the sound of vows echoing against stone walls, trembling with sincerity. Soo Kai's voice had cracked as he said, "I choose you in every lifetime, in every version of me." And when she slipped the ring onto his finger, her hands shook not with fear, but with joy. Those rings, though hidden beneath scripts and stage lights, carried the weight of eternity. That was their real secret, not the love itself, but the unshakable choice they had already made long ago. But keeping their love hidden wasn't without cost. Fans often spotted Soo Kai looking distracted during interviews, his eyes darting to the ground when asked about his ideal type. She, too, felt the sting of silence, pretending in public as though her heart wasn't already spoken for. There were nights when they lay awake, the fear pressing heavy between them. "What if they find out?" she would whisper. Then they'll know the truth, Sukai would reply, squeezing her hand. And the truth is nothing to be ashamed of. Still, the fear lingered, gnawing at the edges of their happiness. That's why the hotel night was so important. It was the moment they both decided that fear would no longer be the anchor chaining them down. Perhaps the most mind-blowing moment happened not during a film, but during one ordinary evening months before the revelation. Sukai had come home after a grueling shoot. Exhausted, he dropped his scripts, sat on the floor, and leaned his head against her knees. "I don't think I can keep pretending," he confessed. She had stroked his hair gently, smiling despite the ache in her chest. "Then don't. Pretend for them if you must. But here with me be Sukai, not the actor, not the star. Just the man I married." And in that quiet moment, Sukai broke into laughter through his tears. Because in her words, he found the freedom he had been chasing all along. When the truth finally spilled into the world, reactions were seismic. Fans rewatched every drama, every interview, searching for the hints they had overlooked. Suddenly, his soft glances and half-smiles weren't just acting, they were coded love letters to the woman waiting just out of frame. Some fans admitted they felt betrayed, but far more celebrated. "He loved her enough to protect her from the world," one fan tweeted. "That's the kind of love we all want." In an industry where relationships often crumble under the spotlight, Sukai's secret marriage became a symbol of endurance, reminding everyone that true love doesn't always need applause to be real. Back in that hotel room, dawn finally broke. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, golden and forgiving. Sukai stirred awake, his wife still curled up beside him. For once, there were no cameras, no scripts, no roles to play. Just him, his heart, and the woman who had been his quiet constant all along. He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead, and whispered, "From today we don't hide anymore. Not from ourselves, not from each other." And in that fragile morning light, his hidden tears had dried. What remained was a man who had chosen love, not fear, and a marriage that had already weathered storms fierce enough to make it indestructible. Sukai's hidden tears weren't just the breakdown of a man under pressure. They were the release of years of love bottled up, of sacrifices made in silence, of promises whispered in the dark. Behind that locked hotel door was not just sorrow, it was triumph. The triumph of two people who dared to protect their love, who married in secrecy but loved in truth, and who, when the world finally learned their secret, stood tall together.